Hello traders, this is Blake Morrow and you are listening to the week ahead video for February 21st, 2021. Before I get started, I just want to make sure that you all took care of business for Valentine's Day last week. I hope at least I rang the bell for some of you and you were able to scurry out and grab some chocolates and flowers for your loved one. Anyway, no, I hope you guys are all having a great weekend, and we got an exciting week this next week, some big events happening this next week. But before I get into that, just a couple of quick things. Actually, if you haven't tried out ForexAnalytix, make sure you do so. It's only $1 for 10 days. You can try it out. You get the premium version to try out. It doesn't matter if you want to just get the light version, after your first 10 days. You can do either the light or the premium. But remember, by using ForexAnalytix, you get access not only to our free webinar, the week ahead video and, our daily F.A.C.E webinar, but you also have access to our webinars that are offered just to ForexAnalytix subscribers. One of them, which is the really going through the technical analysis every morning of all the major instruments and developing our bias chart. You have access to that now with ForexAnalytix. So make sure you take care of that. Also, I wanted to mention a couple other things too. If you find these videos really useful, please give us a thumbs up. Please share us on social media. It makes myself feel great. It makes our team feel great. It really helps out what we're doing. I truly appreciate that. Also, we just integrated with Live Squawk. If you want to get the Live Squawk audio squawk service through ForexAnalytix, you get a discounted amount specifically for ForexAnalytix clients. So make sure you take advantage of that. So not only do you have the live news events as they're happening, but you also get the audio squawk as well. One last thing, I know I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry, I've got to mention this though. If you guys listen to Stelios every day, he is one of the partners here at ForexAnalytix. His book Truth and Libor is coming to your house soon. So make sure you pre-order your copy. I've got mine coming, and it's the untold story of what happened in the Libor scandal. This is a big story, and I think a lot of you, especially those of you that know Stelios, you listen to his analysis every day on our webinars. You want to hear the story. It's only, the book's $10. Go out and get it. Okay, so let's talk about. Well, I got to talk. How can I start without talking about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is near $60,000. I know, it's crazy, right? Can it continue? Well, technically we are very overbought almost on every metric, but I want to point out that I think we can continue a little higher, at least near term. And let me show you the reason why I say that. If you look at and I'm gonna do a little bit of chart work here for you guys. And by the way, when you're using ForexAnalytix, we do have obviously our live our analysis on ForexAnalytix. So you can click on any one of the charts, and you can get our most recent take on what market we're looking at, and the weekend analysis is being updated currently. So that's why I don't go through this analysis live with you guys, because I can actually draw on the charts here. But throughout the weekend, our analysis gets updated by our team, and then throughout the week it does as well. And then also you can actually access the live charts right here through ForexAnalytix, as we're integrated through TradingView, if you want to do that as well. But I'm doing it here just because I've already drawn on these charts. But I want to show you something about Bitcoin really quick, and I don't want to spend a lot of time here. But if you look at the weekly chart, when I look at Fibonacci's, I like to look at extensions. You have the 161% extension, which is the golden fib, but beyond that, you go to the 261% extension and the 361% extension. And actually, what you'll notice is the peak that we made in December of 2017 to the low back in November 2018. We're nearing the 300 261% extension of that particular move. Also, if you take the last move down, which was basically the consolidation period at the beginning of this year, we're nearing the 261% extension of that move as well. Now, also, if you take the low, here, let me actually reset this chart. Okay, you want to see where this last move started. You can say that last leg up really started here in December of last year. We have exceeded the AB equals CD. Okay, so you could actually go a little further and you could say, all right, well, I can see that high, where the move started. But where did the move actually really start? Maybe it started somewhere down here where we had the previous base, or you can say the 20,000 mark, right? Because 20,000 was the breakout point. And then you can copy that, or in this case, we're just going to take it, okay? And you can see we've reached for that level now. So if we're going to extend, which obviously this move isn't a very explosive move, I think the risks are that we do find some sort of near-term high somewhere between where we're currently at. Because remember, 20,000 was the breakout point. Then to the most recent high, AB equals CD. Couple golden fibs up there. So anywhere between, let's say, 58,000 to 62,000, you have to be a little careful. I would be more excited actually to see Bitcoin as more of a traded instrument that we can find a good trading range. I don't like buying into explosive moves from the risk reward standpoint. But once it gets into a trading range, which most assets tend to be in trading ranges 80% of the time, roughly. Obviously we're not doing that right now with equities and a lot of other things, but more times than not, the markets tend to be in ranges. So once we get into hey, we peaked out at, let's just say, I'm just, guessing here. Let's say we peak out at 65,000 and then we find some support at 40,000 and then we just start bouncing around for an extended period of time. Then those ranges, get a little bit more fun to trade in. And Bitcoin, I think, is a great trading vehicle right now. And it has been for the last few years. So anyway, that I wanted to mention Bitcoin because I know a lot of people are watching it, especially over the weekend. Ethereum's at 20,000 as well, or 2,000, excuse me. Sorry, got some of you really excited. But actually, there's a few other things that I really want to talk about this next week, and we're going to start off with the dollar index. I'm going to start us off here. It's not a chart I want to spend too much time on, other than one thing that really concerns me about the dollar this next week is that we are going into Fed Chairman Powell's semi-annual testimony, and he's going to have a lot of questions regarding the move in the bond markets, which I'm going to reference the bond market. Well, I'll just reference it right now. You can see what's happening in yields, and like you take the 10-year yield that's breaking higher. We had a pennant. Looks like we're going to the breakdown point right here around 140 to 150. But it's the rise in the 30-year yield that probably has more of the Fed's attention. So I'm wondering if his attitude towards yield curve control might have changed a little bit because of the extensive rise in bond yields just over this last month. So it's going to be interesting, and he's going to have to choose his words really, really carefully. He's going to want to sound, he's going to want to sound positive, but not too positive, because if he sounds too positive, could we get a collapse in the bond market and see a further rise in yields? So I think that we need to watch that. And going back to what I was going to say about the dollar, the thing about the dollar is it has not responded with the recent rise in yields. But if you go into a 4-hour chart, I'm going to show you just really quick, just more near-term analysis. And let's get rid of this. We don't need this this channel. We're not really trading in that channel anymore. What we are trading in is, you'll see, high to low, 618 fib, right? Low to high, 618 fib. So you could actually say that we're boxed in right now, really near term. And I think the breakout above the 618 retracement, below the 618 retracement, is probably going to have something more to do with what happens with the Fed. Well, first day of testimony is going to be on Tuesday. So Powell's Tuesday testimony is probably going to be the one that actually moves the market. So what I'm thinking is Monday is we're just going to be bouncing around a little bit before you start to see some bigger moves throughout the latter part of the week. So we are concerned with what's happening with the Fed, especially if he goes on to talk about yield curve control and what's happening in the bond market, and if that's really, altering the way he feels. So keep an eye on that. Also, one of the other things that we have to pay attention to, in my opinion, is we've got to pay attention to the stimulus talks that are happening this week as well. So if you look at the S&P, I'm monitoring right now, and if you remember from last week, we talked about the importance of the 3870 level. That's the breakout point of the S&P. Now we're developing a little bit of a head and shoulder pattern. I think we need to pay attention to it. Not saying that, it's time to get short the stock market. No, that's not it. But I do think that we have to be really careful with longs and being really bullish if we drop back below 3870. Now, the reason why I say that is we have stimulus negotiations that are happening right now. And at this point, the final vote should be at the end of this next week. But the hard part is going to be the differences between the House and if the vote can, if what has been agreed on in the House can get enough votes in the Senate. That's what's going to be really important. And ultimately, are we going to get the $1.9 trillion bill, or is it going to be, maybe something a little bit less? And if it's something a little bit less, is the market, does the market take that in stride, or does the market start to say, hey, we didn't get, the 1.9 trillion that we wanted, and then we start to see a little bit of selling because of that? So that's something that we have to pay attention to going into this next week as well, is what is happening with the stimulus package in the United States. Also, a couple other things that are happening this week. We have the RBNZ. All right, the RBNZ, I think one of the reasons why the Kiwi, believe it or not, has not really participated in the rally like the Aussie has, and you can see the Aussie dollar is breaking out. And I'm going to talk about, last thing I'm going to talk about here in just a moment is going to be the Aussie. But we have the Kiwi is struggling to break out. Now, one of the reasons why that is, in my opinion, is they have not been able to provide enough stimulus or as much stimulus as they thought, because their economy is actually doing relatively well. It's actually doing quite well. So I'm wondering if the Kiwi lack of participation to the upside, it has more to do with, ironically, that we're not, or New Zealand's not getting as much stimulus as other parts of the world. But anyway, what I think we should be watching for is the 73.20 resistance, especially if the dollar starts to break down. So going back to the dollar index, if the dollar index starts to break back down below, like, let's say 90, then if that happens, is that the catalyst that drives the Kiwi higher. But remember, the RBNZ rate decision is going to be Wednesday morning in New Zealand. So it'll be Tuesday evening for those of us in the US and also in North America. And then if you're in Europe, it's just in the middle of the damn night. So, you're going to have to wake up for it. Okay, let's talk about the Aussie. So the Aussie is breaking out, and it closed in breakout territory. This was a surprise move to me. I expected the Aussie to eventually go higher, but I thought the Aussie would pull back first. We were trying to create a double top, lower high, came out of an ascending wedge, and the pullback was very minimal here. And I thought we would continue lower and maybe just form more of a range. So on Friday, that breakout above the highs, Did it have something to do with options expiration, or maybe just a rally in risk, or, and it wasn't a rally in risk because we didn't get it, but the Aussie actually broke out. Now, here's one of the things that actually worries me a little bit about the Australian dollar. If you guys don't follow copper, you should, especially if you're trading the Aussie. And I know, Australian yields are rallying too, but they are globally, right? But look at copper and look at this explosive move. Now, I understand the whole reflation trade. I understand inflation is rising. I understand all that. But we've had a prolonged and extended move since the COVID spike low. We've actually rallied to 161% extension, or very close to. This is a very big resistance, and I actually tweeted it about it this last week. But there's even something more than this. Not only technically are we getting to a really, the golden fib, relative strength is overbought, and I would argue that it's slightly divergent, because, even if we hit new highs in price, I'm not sure relative strength is going to hit highs at this point. So it might be divergent. But the daily sentiment index on Friday registered at 93. Now that's an extreme reading. That means it's like the boat, everybody's on the port side, all the bulls are on the port side, and the boat's about ready to capsize. That's the equivalent of what copper is. It's so bullish, the sentiment's so bullish that it's probably at risk of turning lower soon. And maybe it might only be a temporary move. But the reason why I point this out is if copper, by chance, does one of these going into early next week, and let's say it pulls back a little bit, and I'm not saying that copper is going, back to 250, or 260 down here. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that, hey, copper might peak here and then pull back, below 4 and maybe back over to 370, 380. If that happens, what happens to the Aussie dollar? Because the Aussie dollar, technically, we just broke into new highs. If for some reason we close next week, let me go back to the 4-hour chart. If we close next week back below the breakout point, then you have a false breakout, and then that technically brings in all sorts of other, big issues to the pair. So there's a lot coming into next week. There's a lot of I want to make sure, did I cover everything? Yeah, I did. That I wanted to cover today. But let's keep in mind that if you bring this all together between what's happening with the bond market, with what's happening with the Fed Chairman Powell's two semi-annual speeches, with what's happening with copper, with the Aussie, you saw the equity markets, you saw the S&P, and I guess I should actually mention that Apple, largest company in the world, has broken below its multi-month trend line. It's something we need to pay attention to. What happens if risk starts to roll over a little bit and we start to see some selling after this week, and people, and stimulus on top of that? How about if traders walk away a little disappointed? Then I haven't even talked about the coronavirus. We got these damn variants, working their way around the world. That's scary too. Anyway, I don't want to feed you with too much fear, but we're starting to see some cracks in the floor that need to be paid attention to. Let's just put it that way. So guys and gals, again, if you think this video is going to be extremely useful for you going into this next week, please give me a thumbs up. Gosh, I'd love that. I really appreciate that. And then so does our team. And if you see us on LinkedIn or something, share it. And I want to thank you all for hanging out with me on your Sunday, on your Monday. And I will see you on the F.A.C.E webinar. If you don't know how to get to there, you can actually click the link in the description. You can get to our free F.A.C.E webinar every day. You can register for that. And I'll see you there. You guys have a wonderful remainder of your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon. My name is Blake Morrow with ForexAnalytix.